It's MewMew Welder up against Magcargo GX. Welcome back, everyone, to more from the SAbleyes. I'm here today in the commentary box with Jordan. How are we doing, Jordan?
Very well, thank you, Mitch. It's first time I've been back for a little while doing commentary on a game, but we have just gotten the Sword and Shield set having just been released, so it's the perfect time to start looking at how these decks are matching up against each other.
Yeah, exactly. We've got a couple of decks that probably aren't going to be top tier, but MewMew and Welder have obviously been partners for a while. Magcargo GX is the new kid on the block when it comes to Welder. Both of these decks incredibly powerful. It'll be interesting to see how they play off. Now, I've started off here. I've got a quick ball discarding a Fire Energy to grab Dedenne. Dedenne obviously very important on that first turn now that you can't play supporters that first turn, Jordan.
Yes, it is. Especially, it's a pretty big deal for these Welder decks because previously we used to see these Welder decks kind of relying on that turn on Welder to make sure they're able to get ahead of the energy attachments and make sure they start applying early pressure. And these obviously, I would say, are probably the two biggest, or at least two of the biggest Welder decks moving forward into the new format. Obviously, it seems like Welder decks are kind of dropping off a little bit due to this new turn one supporter rule that's going on, but these decks are going to try and prove that Welder is still a force to be reckoned with. And yeah, what do you think of the fact that you can't Welder turn one? Do you think it's going to make some of these decks a little too slow, or do you think it's probably going to be fine overall?
Well, to be honest, both of these decks don't need to Welder turn one. I mean, I'm happy with I've got the attachment on the Torkoal there. Next turn, I'm going to be able to Welder and attach and attack for the 4 energy. Same thing for Sam here. If he gets an attachment this turn, he's going to be more than happy to just Welder next turn if he was going first, because he only needs 4 energy for his big attacks as well. So it's not that big of a deal. It's just things like Reshizard are now not going to be as significant in the format. As Sam slowly tries to figure out what's going on here. He's got a Magcargo in the bin, so can potentially attack with that one. And he's going to be trying to discard as many Pokemon as he can. He's actually got a custom catcher here, which is really annoying, because these Slugmas, I don't know whether I'm playing with the right ones, Jordan, but they've got 3 retreats, so that's a pain.
That is a bit of a pain, and it'll almost certainly die to any attack that Sam can declare if he finds a Welder. I believe as well the Torkoal, actually, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it has exactly 200 HP, so...
It has 210. 210.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually really relevant, because it means Magcargo, if he just went attach plus Welder, would only do exactly 200 damage, so even if Sam got the perfect Welder off turn 1, he would not have had any chance of knocking out that Torkoal this turn with that Magcargo, so going for just something small, like hopefully a Turbo Strike into the Slugma would be a pretty ideal turn 1 for Sam. Depends if he's able to find a bench Pokemon to power up as well. He's got that quick ball, so he's got the opportunity to find some Pokemon. It looks like he's going to go for that Solgaleo, and he also, I believe, discarded a couple of energy with that Dedenne GX. So if he's got himself a Welder plus any Pokemon attacker to put on the bench, he's going to have a really strong turn 1 here.
He certainly will. He's discarded the Solgaleo with the giant hearth on my side of the field. So like you said, the Welder will do the job here, but he needs to have it, and you would have thought he would have just played that straight down if he did. I think that if you're Sam here, you might be a little bit worried. Like, I mean, obviously you're not going to find yourself getting knocked out next turn. But Torkoal V, and there's the pass from Sam, didn't have the Welder. Torkoal V could potentially just remove that energy from play if everything goes my way here.
Yeah, the Torkoal V with its attack, I think it's the second attack that discards the energy, isn't it?
Certainly is, yes.
So yeah, discarding 2 energy for 1 attack is such a strong effect, and if there's any deck that can deal with that, this MewMew Welder deck is probably one of the best decks for trying to combat that energy denial strategy, because obviously it's got the Turbo Strike we were just discussing to get your energy back to the bench. It's also got Welder to get your energy to the active, so it certainly can deal with the Torkoal, but it does put on a lot of pressure, and 210 HP is a little annoying for Mewtwo to deal with without having to waste its GX attack early, so I'm guessing that's probably what you're going to be going for this turn if you can pull it off. You've got that Magcargo with Smooth over on the bench now, plus the Arenga with Primate Wisdom, so you can effectively tutor any card you want out of your deck, so finding Switch or Welder won't be an issue. I guess the main thing you're going to be looking for here is access to find both of those cards, and hopefully even a Magcargo GX, so that you can start accelerating extra energy onto the board at the same time.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that that's the conversation that I'm having here with Sam. Obviously, we don't have audio from the game, but I am, at this point, considering, okay, am I grabbing the Welder here, or am I grabbing Switch? From memory, I think Switch was actually in hand, so I don't know if that's what I was worried about here, but it's just making sure that everything happens in the right sequence, because this deck is very reliant on having that sequence work out, right? So there's the Welder for 2 energy, and draw 3 off the top. So there's the Evo Incense here. I'll probably be grabbing myself, you'd think, the Magcargo GX. One of the really strong things about this particular deck is that you can Oranguru a card to the top of the deck, usually a fire energy, and just accelerate that energy straight away. And you can accelerate it to any Pokemon you want. So that's really, really powerful to be able to do that. Obviously, the extra Oranguru that I'm grabbing out here means I can potentially do that a couple of times. Once with the Smooth Over to grab the exact card I want, and then another time to potentially guarantee another attachment. So we'll see how it plays out here. Grabbing the second Oranguru maybe isn't the best play in the long run, but you know, hey, I guess it's fine. It's not going to punish me here as long as I do have the switch.
Well, yeah, if you can use the second Oranguru fire engine on the top of your deck, which I'm guessing you've just done there, you will be able to activate that Magcargo ability right away, and we do see it there attaching to the active. You've got the attachment to the bench as well, so very, very strong turn 2 from you, Mitch. You're already getting that Magcargo into the active with the switch. I guess it just proves that when you've got access to any card in your deck every turn, but thanks to that Smooth Over, there's really nothing you can't realistically do without too much trouble. And obviously it's ideal to potentially even get 2 Smooth Overs into play, so theoretically we could have seen that second Oranguru being an extra Slugma instead, which might have been better for the long run, but hey, that Oranguru guaranteed this extra attachment onto that bench Magcargo, so you're going to very quickly be pressuring to just take out 2 tag team Pokemon and win this game before Sam even gets much of a chance to set up.
Yeah, exactly. The ability, like that's my second turn. I've got 5 energy in play, and I've played Welder once, so that's a pretty big spread of energy there. The idea that Welder is not able to be played on turn 1 doesn't really matter when you can do that. So, and when you think about it, like that Torkoal, if that Torkoal had been the Magcargo, I would have been doing 250 damage with it, maybe even taking a knockout, and Sam's board state here is pretty average. Just getting the low puff and an energy on the bench, so not even a viable attack from Mewtwo here. This is potentially going to end poorly, and one of the things that this Torkoal does, not only does it put on pressure with that second attack for 120 whilst discarding energy, but it can also do 180 with its first attack if you discard a fire energy off the top. And as we've mentioned, with Oranguru, we can guarantee that that fire energy is there.
Yeah, but either Oranguru or Magcargo Smooth Over is going to make sure that that secondary effect is going to be triggered and take the knockout on this Mewtwo, going up 3 prizes, which is pretty insane considering Sam hasn't even declared an attack yet. And as you mentioned, he's thanks to this terrible hand, it looks like he's got still no access to a Welder or any supporter. He's forced himself into powering up that Mega Lopunny Jigglypuff on the bench, which with only 2 GX Pokemon in play is only doing 180 damage. That's not enough to knock out this Torkoal. It's only realistically enough to take out the Dedenne or maybe even the Smooth Over Magcargo, but we've already seen Sam waste 2 custom catches as well, so I don't really see a way that this Mega Lopunny Jigglypuff is going to give Sam an opportunity to come into this game. I think if he is going to win this game, he's going to have to find himself a Mewtwo, take a big knockout somehow on this Torkoal, and kind of go from there. But he's forced to attach again to this Mega Lopunny to just draw cards with Custom Catcher, which means he's also not going to be gusting anymore this game. Looks pretty rough. I don't see a way back from this one, but if he can get there, I'll be impressed.
Yeah, well, he's at least managed to find himself a Welder there, so we can attack this turn, and I think we've just seen the Quick Ball go down. There was a Dedenne in hand, so might find himself either a Mewtwo, although he's actually got the Mind Report Mewtwo here. This is a card that Sam was super hyped on. He's talking about it in place of the Power Pad. Now, whether you play Power Pad or not is up to you, but he's saying that Mind Report's really, really strong when this situation comes up, right? Now I've just guaranteed that I've got myself a Welder in hand for next turn. I guess the question is there going to be a next turn?
I was just about to say that.
So it's looking pretty rough. There's obviously going to be an attack here from Lopunny, but that Magcargo on the bench is only, 2 energy away from taking a one-shot on this tag team and winning the game. And that reset stamp is massive. So that reset stamp is going to mean that I'm going down to 3 cards, 4 off of the draw. It's just a shame that I can search out any card that I want from my deck with Smooth Over.
Yeah, with the Smooth Over double Oranguru combination, you don't even need Welder, I think, to win the game on that Mega Lopunny if it stays active. You only need 4 energy total on Magcargo to discard them all, do 250 damage, which will be enough to knock out that Mega Lopunny Jigglypuff in the active. So just finding access to 2 energy, 1 on the top of the deck and 1 in the hand, will be enough to win the game if Sam leaves this active. And I mean, he could retreat it, but what does he do? He just retreats into Mewtwo and passes, or he just attacks into your Torkoal for 180 damage in the active. Both of those don't sound like winning strategies. Maybe the best thing that Sam could do is try and line up for like a GX attack next turn with his Megalo playing to snipe 200 damage, but even that's not enough to knock out that Magcargo GX on the bench, which realistically would be his only way of surviving.
Yeah, and you can see here, Sam, I think he's just grabbed a quick ball off of the Acro Bike. There's a switch that's gone into the bin, and there's 180 damage. He's obviously just going, alright, well, if you've got the energy, you've got the energy. And I think he just saw it there off the top deck. I've just managed to grab myself Fire Crystal, so if there's 2 Fire Energy in the bin, then that will be the game.
Doesn't even have to be 2. You would have only needed 1 in hand because SmoothOver could have guaranteed the second one. So you did only realistically need to find 1 energy to guarantee you'd win this game. But hey, maybe you'll be able to do 300 damage instead of 250 now.
Well, it looks like that's what I'm doing here because I think I've just what have I grabbed? I've probably gone to grab a welder. I'm going to charge up here, and there's a welder. Here we go.
Greedy boy.
Attaching as many energy as I can. We're going to switch it as a manual attachment as well. So 1, 2, 3.
How much damage is that, Mitch?
It's like 350, maybe, something like that. It's pretty strong. That seems fine. But
yeah,
obviously...
Well, 2 more than what you needed, so that's an additional 100, so 350. That's enough to kill most Pokemon, I would say.
Yeah, I think I'd be pretty comfortable going up against anything in the format, apart from like maybe a Stonjourner with a hat on it when it's wearing the big amulet. Maybe that could be a bit of an issue. But you saw just how quickly there Jordan Magcargo was able to just create a dominating board state. Obviously, MewMew didn't get going in that first game. Missing the turn 1 Welder was a big issue, but you can see like missed 1 turn and Magcargo was all over it.
Yeah, and that really just brings up that topic we were just discussing in Game 1, where how big a deal is not being able to Welder turn 1. Obviously, it's fine for you. Your deck doesn't really need to Welder turn 1. But Sam, who was going second, because you had that 1 turn to set up, he really needed to get the Welder turn 1. And he missed it. If he'd hit that Welder and a bench Mewtwo, for example, all of a sudden he has 4 energy in play instead of 0 after the first turn. And he's already a prize card up, taking a knockout on your Slugma, which would also hinder your setup. So definitely would have been a completely different game had he hit that Welder. But going into a new game now, Sam opens with the Latios, which isn't a great Pokemon to start with, but it's got free retreat, so it's not too bad. And once again, as we were just saying, he won't be able to play a Welder this turn, but he can at least start setting up his board, getting those Fire Energy into the discard pile. Makes me think he might be going for that Solgaleo strategy once again.
I reckon that's probably not a bad idea. He's opting to grab the MewMew and the Dedenne here. My start on my side of the field is looking significantly worse. I've got a Dedenne in the active, and that is it. So this Magcargo deck only playing 2 Dedenne, 1 of them in the active, means that I could potentially just get locked out of the game. But Sam's start does look considerably better in this game than he had in the last one. Although there are custom catches in that hand again. So that's a little bit frustrating for him. He's just playing a switch. He's going to draw some more cards with Custom Catcher, and that's pretty big. He managed to draw into a Cherish Ball here. So that Cherish Ball could just be the Solgaleo that he needs to discard that one off of the Dedenne and give himself the best chance to Turbo Strike next turn.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting play that Sam just made by playing the single Custom Catcher. I'd say that a lot of players usually wouldn't be brave enough to do that when they're holding a Dedenne, just like, yeah, I'm just going to just effectively discard the top 2 cards of my deck, and maybe they're usable, maybe they're not. I usually do that if I'm in a bit of a tight situation and I need to desperately hit something, but Sam's just going all in here on the turn 1. He doesn't need to hit anything this turn, but he's just saying, after I lost last game so convincingly, I need to just go as turbo as I can in this game. And he's actually choosing to go for that Reshiram and Charizard GX into the discard pile instead of the Solgaleo, which is an interesting decision, but it does put on a lot of pressure because it means next turn he can very feasibly go for that turn 2 Flare Strike. And we were just saying 200 damage is not enough to knock out Magcargo GX or Torkoal GX, but 230 from Flare Strike will get the job done.
It certainly is, and I think Sam quite astute here, knowing, alright, there's no way that bitch is ever getting 4 energy in play on his first turn, so this Psychic Energy is safe. If I can get myself a Welder and a couple of Fire Energy, then I can realistically start putting on a lot of pressure next turn with that Reshizard. So it is a bit of a gamble, but I think it's a good one because, I mean, like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to manipulate the energy on the board this turn. I do have the Welder for 2 on the Torkoal, but the most that I could realistically do is just attach another one, and then that's it.
Yeah, I mean, 3 energy is enough, I believe, to use the first attack to do 180 damage, which would apply a lot of pressure. But
I'd need to have the Fire Energy to discard, though. That's the thing, right?
Oh yeah, that's easy enough, right?
Oh, it can't be too hard. Well, I got an Oranguru here, so that's that's not the end of the world. And the second Dedenne isn't prized, so I guess it could happen.
But yeah, I think I don't even know if it would be worth just going for that half hit onto the Mewtwo, knowing that the Mewtwo is very likely to just return, knock out your Torkoal in one hit, and then your board is not nearly as good as it was last game. So if Sam does go for an early knockout, you won't really have a good chance to recover thanks to having double Dedenne in play. But luckily, you found that second Slugma, which I think was a big deal this turn. You really needed to make sure that you've got access to the double Magcargo next turn to make sure that you don't fall too far behind. It's going to be on Sam this turn to see if he can capitalize on going first and having a bit of a better setup here. If he can get ahead in prizes before you start to get your board set up, I think he's got a pretty good chance. Did seem like he had to discard a second custom catcher there, which doesn't matter too much because he only had one set of customs left anyway, but it is going to make it harder for him to pull it off if he did want to go greedy and try and knock out your Torkoal this turn, for example.
Yeah, exactly. And there were some comments on the deck profile video for Mewtwo and Welder about the viability of Custom Catcher in this particular deck. I did mention in the comments and in the video that Sam prefers Custom Catcher just because it's the guaranteed Gust. But there is a case to be made to switch over to Pokemon Catcher. It's obviously a coin flip, but in a deck like this, it might be better. You know, you've got a 50-50 chance, but you're going to be discarding a ton of cards anyway, and we've seen that that is something that Sam has had to do. In fact, he's used Custom Catcher more for drawing cards than he has for gusting.
That's true. Although he did do that turn one gust.
Yeah, he did. That is a good point. But how often does that happen?
Yeah, that was just luck of opening the double custom catchers. Obviously, the other option is Great Catcher, which I think is pretty strong in Mewtwo still, but hey, Great Catcher doesn't gust out cards like Torkoal V, so it wouldn't be super useful in this scenario. The only card he could actually gust up if he had a Great Catcher would be the other Dedenne GX on the bench, which doesn't really achieve anything. Oh, we did see the Welder, I believe,
on the
change. And I don't think he's used Giant Half yet either this turn, so if he wants to, he does have access to the 4 Energy Mewtwo in the active. He can go for that Flare Strike, knock out the Dedenne, or he could probably find himself a cheaper way to do it. He could maybe find the Megalopunny wouldn't be a bad option to go for here. 3 energy for 180 would knock out the Dedenne. He's actually going for the Victini V here, which is interesting because unlike most Pokemon, you can't actually copy Victini V with Mewtwo's attack because it's not a GX Pokemon. And he doesn't have bench space for it.
Yeah, I think the thing was there, he's played the quick ball, he's gone, alright, I'm going to grab something out here, and the thing he was looking for is in the prizes, so alright, well now what am I going to get now? I guess I'm just going to get this Victini, whatever, doesn't matter. So the key thing was he's got the Welder, he's got the double fire attachment here, and this is a much better board setup for Sam than he had last game. Obviously, there's a potential that very easily could fall prey to that 4 energy attack from Torkoal, discarding 2 of the energy on the Mewtwo, but he's just removed the Giant Hearth with the Mars Shadow, so he's reducing my outs to find the energy, and he's putting on a lot of pressure, which he wasn't doing in Game 1.
Yeah, I actually really like that play from Sam there, getting rid of the Giant Half of the Mars Shadow, just making it a little bit more awkward for you in this turn. I'm guessing, looking at what cards Sam had available, he was probably looking for that Megalopunny Jigglypuff that turn, which ended up being prized because he could have knocked out that Dedenne without using Flash Strike, which probably won't matter, but it does mean that he can't use Flash Strike this turn without switching out, so it could be a little annoying for him. We'll have to see how it goes next game. That's right, next turn. But for the most part, I don't think he has to be really scared because, I mean, worst case scenario, you power up this Torkoal, remove 2 energy, do 120 damage. You're not threatening any knockout on this Mewtwo as far as I can tell. And even if he just removes 2 energy, hey, he can just attach another 2 energy with Welder if he's able to find it, knock out the Torkoal, and he's down to 2 prizes, you're still at 6. So definitely a bit of an awkward spot for you, but I don't think you're out of it. I think you still can just like power up back-to-back attackers and knock out 2 Mewtwo's over the next couple turns to win the game, but you are going to have to half hit this Mewtwo, I think, which means Sam's going to have the opportunity to get ahead in prizes. So we'll see what you go for. You've got the double Magcargo, which is pretty strong, and you're also going for the custom catcher to draw cards. Oh man, you're going real cards.
It's bad. It's bad. From memory here, I've got no cards in hand, and I'm trying to figure out a way that I can actually get some damage onto this thing, because interestingly enough, in this specific situation, if I attack with the first attack to half hit this Mewtwo, do 180 damage and discard a fire, then all Sam has to do is declare Outrage and he knocks out the Torkoal, so that's really bad. So I need to find Welder energy here to give myself an attack that firstly half hits, but forces Sam to actually attack with a different attack. But in doing so, I've had to play down the MewMew, which makes it even worse because Sam can potentially just gust it out and take a knockout. There's 3 prizes.
Yeah, unlike most Mewtwo decks, your Mewtwo on the bench does not have any way to remove its weakness, so that's a easy 3 prize cards for Sam whenever he wants it. I don't think that's going to be a huge deal because looking at the way the prize trade's working out this game, he's probably going to have to take 2 GX knockouts anyway. He's probably going to have to take out this Torkoal, and then the Dedenne becomes just as easy a target as the Mewtwo theoretically, but it's still a little annoying. Oh, he gets the fire off the top.
So that one was really funny. So the situation there was, I'm like, okay, I have to just randomly Magcargo here, crushing charge into an energy, or otherwise I'm not going to be able to attack for 4. So I crushing charge and discard a switch. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever, no worries. Well, I may as well just attack and do 90. That's fine. What's the worst that can happen? I flip over the fire energy off the top of the deck and do 180 anyway. It's like, no.
So good.
And so now Sam's just going to be able to outrage and take the knockout. But hey, that's what happens. It's all good fun. It's one of those funny situations.
Yeah, the extra damage is certainly nice. And the one thing that the Mewtwo does actually make an impact in this game that we didn't mention, not so much as the weakness, but the fact that it's a GX Pokemon on your board means that even if he didn't have access to that outrage, he can actually use the Megalopunny and Jigglypuff attack now, which is doing 240 damage instead of just 180. So right now that Megalopunny Jigglypuff attack is threatening knockout on pretty much everything on the board. In fact, it's literally not threatening knockout on everything on the board because the Mewtwo, only thing with more than 240 HP, is weak to Psychic.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's able to weld it to the bench instead of the active, not having to charge up that Mewtwo again, means he's effectively just an attachment away from almost having checkmate on board. It's going to be really hard for you to deal with both these Mewtwo's because you can't knock them both out. You can only knock one out, and whichever one you don't knock out is going to come up and win the game next turn if you leave a GX in the active. So somehow I think you're going to have to find a way to knock out this Mewtwo with a non-GX. I'm not sure if your deck is able to do that. I'm looking at that Magcargo's attack right now. Combustion for 50 damage is not going to be enough to win the game. So Rangaroo does 70, which is a bit closer, but
it's still not there
yet.
I think at this stage my only win condition is that Sam has less than 5 cards in his deck, so that maybe I can Burning Magma for game, but I don't think it's going to happen here. Like you said, I'm in a situation now where there's nothing I can realistically do. The fact that I had to play that MewMew down in order to try and find some more cards to maybe get an attack off, it's going to cost me here, but it's alright. In the first game I got set up, in the second game Sam got set up, so it's perfectly fair and reasonable. And hopefully in the third one we can see both of us setting up at the same time. So the key is I've been able to show off just how quickly I can accelerate energy here because I've got a Magcargo with 0 on it, go on to 3, and hopefully can go to 4 in the next little section of time here. Oh no, apparently not. Just take the knockout, whatever. 1 discard, that's fine.
Well, you're proving that if Sam hadn't had such a dominant start, then you would have made this game pretty interesting. But who would have known that benching Mewtwo would lose you the game for completely different reasons than you would usually expect.
Yeah, exactly.
Although, to be fair, he would have just needed to attach an energy to use Flash Strike the game anyway, so I highly doubt that actually...
It doesn't come up, yeah. It doesn't
I don't think it would have actually influenced the way that game played out. The Giant Half was in place, so unless Sam had literally no energy left in deck, he would have won the game there anyway. But still pretty interesting to see that the Mewtwo coming down there could theoretically cause you the game. It means you definitely don't want to open it, for example, but I feel like for the most part, it's probably going to be fine. It's not something I'd be too worried about going into Game 3. I don't want to jinx. I haven't seen your opening hand yet. But...
Well, there's nothing in that one, so it's fine. That would have been a really, really strong opening hand, by the way, if there was a Pokemon in there. There was a couple of quick balls and a welder and all sorts of stuff going on. I could have just held on to that one. But, yeah, no, the Mewtwo is an interesting addition. I'm not sure how I feel about it in Magcargo at the moment. It's probably going to be one of those cards that you'd consider cutting, just because it doesn't really offer that much extra. The only matchup it's super good in, it becomes a massive liability in, and that's against MewMew, so might be worth considering getting something else. And I've actually started the Torkoal again here, so getting a little bit lucky to get that one off, and a Slugma coming down too, as well as a Giant Hearth. So hopefully this setup is a little bit nicer, and we can get ourselves another good game.
Yeah, and you are going first in this game, just like in Game 1, which is good for you. As we were saying, you don't realistically need to use Welder turn 1 to have a good turn. You've got that Slugma and the attachment down, so you can theoretically power up that Torkoal next turn with a Welder and an attachment, which isn't too hard to do. But the more important thing is that Last time Sam went second, he missed the turn 1 welder, and that ends up costing him the game. So I'll be very interested to see here if Sam is able to find that turn 1 welder instead. Is that going to be enough for him to try and get ahead before you end up overpowering him with these Magcargos and Torkoal attacks? He did open to Dene GX, which could cause a bit of an issue for him. I don't think it's too big a liability, but it's certainly not ideal. But it basically is just going to come down to whether he has access to Welder turn 1. If he can at least put a half hit onto this Torkoal, maybe use that Turbo Strike to power up a Mewtwo on the bench would be ideal for him.
Yeah, it certainly would, and I think that's going to be Sam's game plan here. He's going for the Acro Bike again. You can see there he's got a Fire Energy and a Giant Hearth. Probably discard that Giant Hearth, not required here. It's a bit disappointing that he didn't get himself anything else, but it's one of those ones where you're playing down the Acro Bike, you're just thinning out cards. There's the Custom Catcher again, the opening Custom Catcher. He's got him twice. So now he's in a really strong position again if he can get that Turbo Strike. There's an attachment to the Dene and some discards here. We'll see if the Welder comes up. No, didn't get it.
See it.
He has a custom catcher though, so he could potentially draw some extra cards.
I definitely saw at least one quick ball, so he can definitely thin his hand out a little bit. He's attached to the Dene, and he hasn't used Giant Half yet, so he's basically just gone all in, saying if I can draw Welder off these 6 cards, I can retreat to Dene, use Giant Half to search for 2 fire, and then play Welder onto the active. And thanks to the Angie being discarded off of the Dene from retreating, he could then quick ball for a second Mewtwo here, for example, and actually have 2 Angie on 2 different attackers, which would be a super strong start from Sam. So he really is only missing that 1 card. I'm guessing he's probably going to try and use that custom catcher to draw it, because it really is such a huge turn. It's also obviously going to get him the knockout on that Slugma instead of the half hit on the Torkoal, which in my opinion is quite a bit stronger than just half hitting the Torkoal, because you can 1 hit at the turn after anyway. He's actually going for the reset hold Marshadow here instead of the Mewtwo. He might just be giving up on getting the attack this turn and just saying, you know what, I'm not going to be doing anything this turn, but thanks to this reset hold, maybe you're not going to be able to do anything either.
Yeah, it's happened twice now that Sam has gusted up a Slugma, and twice that he's discarded the Giant Hearth in the early game, and that's potentially going to cripple this deck. There's that custom for 1, did not find the Welder, so there goes that plan, but hey, it's alright. The energy is on the Dene, and I don't think that I'm going to be doing that much on my side of the field anyway, so it's not the end of the world. And the other cool thing that Sam has going for him is that Victini V. 1 Welder onto that, and he can potentially do a lot of damage to this Torkoal. There's a big opportunity there. You can see me on my side of the field. Super optimal turn. Weldering 2 energy to a Slugma, and hopefully everything works out for the best.
Oh yeah, if you draw a Magcargo off of that Welder, then Dene is going to be a pretty easy 2 prizes for you, even if it is a little costly. You would have to discard all 3 of the Fire Energy on the active, assuming you get 3 on there to knock out the Dene. You get the Giant Half there, so it's certainly not unfeasible, and a quick ball means it could be finding a Dene GX to keep digging. I don't think it's crucial for you to get the 2 prizes this turn, so yeah, you might be better off just... Oh, you're going for the Dene anyway, it looks like.
Yep, I've got the double quick ball there. I'm 90% sure that my hand was something like... I've played triple Welder or something like that. I feel like I've played heaps of them already. So
yeah,
this
unlike
is
Sam, you're having no
expensive.
problems finding the Welders, and we actually see you get the Magcargo GX there as well, so... certainly a respectable start for you. Sam might be wishing he didn't gust up that Slugma, because I was really just about to say that Torkoal doesn't actually apply that much pressure to the Dene GX, because the Dene doesn't care if it gets hit for 120 and lose energy. I mean, you just play a switch and then you're fine anyway, but it's more the damage output that you're scared of with the Dene and the active, and Torkoal can do 180, sure, but Magcargo does a little bit easier, I'd say.
Exactly.
Looks like that's what you're lining up to do, is just take the first 2 prize cards in this game. Which is really intimidating, because Sam attached to the Dene, meaning he doesn't even have an energy on the board to potentially go attach Welder and Flash Strike for knockout. So he's got no easy way to deal with this Magcargo, especially after you discard those Angies. Victini really isn't doing much damage if your opponent has no Angie on it, so I wonder he might actually be going for the first attack with the Victini here to set up his board a little bit and hope you have a slow turn.
Yeah, very easily could be. You can see the Welder. He's finally drawn into it there.
Did he top deck that?
He did. He certainly did. He top decked that Welder. He chucks them both down onto the MewMew. And that first attack from Victini V is going to be coming up here. So we'll be able to attach an energy. And then I believe we will find 3 fire energies and accelerate them to the field of play. So Sam will have a ton of energy in play next turn. But He's on the clock because if that Victini V stays in the active, there's a chance, not a good chance, but a chance that he gets knocked out by this Magcargo GX. And then I'm only one gust away from knocking out the Dedenne for game. So it's gonna be a close one. It's all about who misses which turn, and this time Sam's missed a turn. You know, if I miss another one, then it's back to even, and we're right back into it. So we'll see how we go.
Yeah, I actually think that Sam's in a kind of okay spot here, because we did see you, I don't remember if it was 1 or 2 welders that you discarded, but you played at least one and discarded at least one. So that's at least 2, maybe 3 in the discard pile. So Sam's putting himself in a position here where if you miss even a single turn, so you just miss this one turn for Welder to knock out this Victini, that Mewtwo's going to be powered up, ready to make the game even on the next turn, and it's going to be really hard for you to knock out that Mewtwo EX in one hit if you're able to take out Magcargo. But he's actually going for the Great Cat, trying to be really careful and make sure that it's going to be that little bit harder for you to knock out that Victini, because I think he recognizes that if the Victini goes down, he's probably going to go on to lose this game. But thanks to that Magcargo smooth over, I'd say you're probably going to be able to find the switch if you need to.
Yeah, should be able to grab it here, but again, it comes down to what do I need? Like, do I need the welder or the switch, which is more important? And the thing that's really critical about this Victini V is that I can't just attach an energy and then crushing charge one onto Torkoal in order to take a knockout, because this Victini has 190 HP. So I'm going to need to go in again with Magcargo. I've used another welder there, so that's either my last or my second to last welder. I don't have a Fire Crystal. I've only got 1 Fire Crystal left, maybe, and I'm getting towards the end of my energy count here. So even if I do take a knockout, there is a potential that Sam goes on to win this game just because I don't have any energy left. Like, it could potentially come down to something as simple as that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're playing any Welder recursion cards, such as that Mewtwo that we saw from Sam on the Power Pad, which is a bit more standard. But yeah, if Sam can knock out this Magcargo GX before you win the game, you are definitely going to struggle at least a little bit to start chaining attackers. And Mewtwo is a deck that's known to start steamrolling once it gets going. If it starts taking prizes, it's not going to miss taking prizes again very often. So it looks like you're recognizing that and spreading the energy around a little bit. Magcargo is going to be able to just flat knock out this Victini, which will definitely leave you in a bit of a peculiar spot in terms of energy on the board. But once again, Sam's got this Mewtwo fully powered in the active now. He's going to be taking a knockout. We could even see a reset stamp to 1, which won't be too big a deal thanks to the Magcargo and this Oranguru combo. But if you can stamp to 1 plus, say for example, knock out your Torkoal, or even just take 2 prizes in this Magcargo GX, it's what he needs to at least have a chance in this game.
Yeah, well, it'll be a stamp to 2 because I've taken 2 GX knockouts, so I haven't taken a tag team knockout. But still, the principle is the same. 2 cards is just about as bad as 1. So the situation now is Sam's obviously going to be able to take a knockout here, but can he survive a turn? Stamp to 2, maybe force me to try and find the Gust. If I am able to find it, then that's going to be probably the game. If I can get the Dedenne into the active, all I need is an attachment and a way to get an energy onto the top of the deck. And I've got Oranguru and Smooth over Magcargo there, so that shouldn't be too hard. But I guess the question is, can I find the Gust as well as putting those cards on the top of the deck? That's going to be the tough part.
Well, I mean, another line of play that Sam could go for theoretically is if he does find that reset stamp, he could potentially go for like a Venom Shot Nagano and maybe take out your Smooth over Magcargo on the bench and kind of leave you stranded just relying on that monkey draw. It'd be a bit of a risk because it doesn't work out with his prize trade very well, but it could work out pretty well for him leaving that Magcargo stranded in the active position, knowing you can't really take much advantage of it with most of your welders in the discard pile. So that could be a line of play for him. I don't think he's got the Psychic energy. Oh, he does have Psychic in hand, so he could have attached that to the active and gone for a Venom Shot if that was available to him. But looks like he's just going for the safe play, taking out that Magcargo GX, just saying, I'm going to give you like 1 turn to respond. If you don't get it, I'm going to knock out this Torkoal, then you probably won't have enough energy to win the game, and I'll win the following turn. So he's basically just going all in, hoping you're going to miss the game this turn, but it just comes down to whether you've got the resources in deck. In deck, you should be able to search for it.
Yeah, it looks like there's the attachment. Oranguru will probably find ourselves the double custom. There it is. Gust up the Dedenne, and then attack for the game. So that'll be it. A close one, but an interesting one for sure. Thank you very much to Jordan for coming along and commentating that game, as well as to Sam for playing MewMew Welder in this one. Magcargo ends up getting across the line, but it very easily could have gone either way. Both decks looking like strong Tier 2 contenders in the Sword and Shield format. Thanks very much for watching. If you like the content, then consider subscribing. Click the button that's just about here. Over here are some videos that YouTube thinks that you'll like, and there's also a little playlist for you that you can click. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at the SAbleyes_YT. And apart from that, we'll see you all next time for more from the SAbleyes. Bye.